Hey guys, this is Toyota Buck, and today we're doing a deep dive in Tacomas. We're going to go through all the different models for towing max capability, max payload, and GCWR. Also, if you're trying to figure out how many different configuration Tacomas there are, that'd be a good video to watch as well. I'm going to tab those off to the side. Now, there is 19 model 4x4s, and there's 8 rear-wheel drive models. I'm going to put the rear-wheel drives together, and I'm going to go from the least MSRP to the highest MSRP. So if you're trying to find like a Sport or Limited, of course you're going to go in the higher section. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the 4x4 models as well. I'm also going to go into kind of a little bit of a deep dive of what these different terms mean, how they apply to you. So if you're truck shopping or SUV shopping and you're maybe looking at getting a camper or something like that, even if you're not Tacoma shopping, this is going to be a good video for you to kind of get a grasp on what the payload and different figures actually mean, what the max figures are, and how a lot of times in real life scenarios, they don't come out to be true numbers in a real life scenario. And I'll break all that down as well. Now, quick disclaimer, all the numbers that I'm going over, I'm going to use Ford for an example, is going to be some of their published numbers. I'm also using Toyota's Engage app to show said numbers. Now, of course, what the numbers are and what is legal in certain states can vary a lot as far as towing, so always do your research. Also use common sense. For instance, if a Tacoma is rated for 6,500 pounds and you have a 6,000 pound aluminum enclosed trailer at 30 some feet, that's not the truck that you need to be using towing through Kansas with high winds. Again, if you're not sure about your scenario, find a friend, ask some forms, stuff like that. Safety is always paramount when you're towing. Common sense or ask. Also, there is 4 different power variations with the Tacoma. You can get a hybrid model as well. You can get rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. As far as transmissions, you can get an automatic or manual, and then cab configurations, you can get a double cab or an Xtra Cab as they're calling it now. Also, you can get a 5-foot bed or a 6-foot bed depending on what model you're getting. So if you're kind of trying to figure out what model trims are available, that's another good thing to watch. And I'm going to include the model numbers for each of the Tacomas. So if you're trying to figure out that, hey, this is the model that I'm looking for, you can also figure out what number it is using this video as well. Now, if you're watching this video as a sales associate for Toyota, I encourage you to use the Engage app. That's the quickest, easiest way to figure out model codes and configurations. But especially if you're shopping, this kind of puts everything out there for everything that is available. Now trying to find it may be a different ball game. The new generation 2024 up Tacomas all have turbocharged 4 cylinders. Now power varies quite a bit among the models. A minimum horsepower of 228, a max horsepower of 326. That's a 98 horsepower difference in those. And then torque-wise, you can go from a 243 pound-feet of torque all the way up to 465 pound-feet, which is a 228 pound-foot of difference there. The numbers for towing and payload, they vary a lot as well. Max towing for the new model is 6,500. Minimum towing is 3,500. So you have a difference of 3,000 pounds. So if you walk out and you look at an SR5 and then decide to go with the 4-door SR to save a few bucks, you just changed your towing capability up a lot for a 4-door truck. And the same thing when it comes to payload and the GCWR, those numbers vary quite a bit. The highest number I seen was 1705. Lowest number I seen was 1203. So that's a 502 pound difference in payload, which can make a really big difference if you're trying to do overlanding gear, run a business out of that said truck. GCWR, your gross combined weight rating, the highest number I've seen is 11,835 on the Trail Hunter that I noticed, and then the lowest one is 8,105. So that's a difference of 3,730 pounds on trucks that are all the same size, mid-size segment for Toyota. And Toyota is not the only manufacturer that has variances. In the past, Toyota's actually been pretty good about staying kind of in the same ballpark for the same truck. Now, I'm going to use Ford just as an example. A lot of manufacturers do something very similar. If you see a commercial, they'll say max towing of this number, and they'll say max payload of this number. Well, those two numbers a lot of times ain't even on the same truck. they'll use the one configuration to get that max tow number to brag about, and then they'll use another configuration for the max payload. The other thing a lot of times manufacturers will do is they may have a specific model that's not a common one to a consumer. So I'll show you the numbers here, but in this case, like if you're talking about the F-150s and you see these really big numbers, well, by the time you go to the dealership and hey, it's you and a family, you're getting a 4-door, you want that Lariat package with the sunroof or moonroof or whatever it is they have, well, by the time you go from a 2-door to a 4-door, 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive, and add all these bells and whistles, you've added the weight and changed the capabilities from the truck quite a bit compared to what those big numbers you've seen in a commercial. So now at first glance, a lot of these numbers seem pretty impressive or class leading, and I'll show you a kind of example here. So max available towing, 14,000, max payload, 3,000. Now if you are looking for the max payload, it's going to be that 3,300 there with the max towing of 13,000. You're like, hey, either one of those numbers are pretty acceptable. Now this is not the average truck that a consumer is going to buy in today's segment. Majority of people buy 4-doors with the exception of a handful of buyers or some commercial applications here. Max towing of 14,000 available on a 8-foot bed, 4x2, so not a 4-wheel drive, Super Crew configured with that specific motor, and max towing package. So that's how they're getting their advertising numbers. Now I'll show an example of this, but you can also get into scenarios where, and I'm even going to show this on Toyota as well, where the max towing doesn't really work out well in a real world scenario for what your max payload is. So I'll use this one here, which if you go to 3, this is a Raptor, and I'll show the math here in a little bit how in a real world scenario a Tacoma would tow more than a Raptor, which sounds crazier. That's a bigger truck. You're looking at 8,200 max towing, but what could really be a kicker if you're staying on the realm of everything correctly is that max payload of 1445, depending on how you're configured and how many people and what gear you have in it. This may be an actual lower tow rating than a Tacoma, for instance. Now, if you're a Toyota sales associate, this is the Engage Towing and Payload Calculator. I encourage you to use it. It breaks it down per model specifically, if you see that 7540. And if you're not, or you're a customer, and I'm going to show you where the breakdown is, the math's fairly simple to do once you understand what we're looking at here. So this first one is just the curb weight. And each of the models for every one of the Tacomas, I'm going to give you the same breakdown. It's going to show you your curb, max payload, max towing, and max GCWR. I'll go through what those mean. But you go to your particular model, put in your scenario for each one of these, and you can figure out where your max is, what model will work for you the best. It's especially important if like you're going to do overlanding and put a lot of equipment on the vehicle. Maybe you run a business like landscaping and you're going to put a bunch of stuff in the bed. So make sure the truck's a good fit for you and your use. Now, curb weight, this is the one number that is not going to change. This is the factory weight of the vehicle with the factory equipment it came with. Each model is going to vary on that. Now, payload. Payload is going to be a combination. One is going to include your passengers. So you as the driver, you have 2 or 3 buddies with you. What's your total weight as far as people goes? Second one is going to be anything you have in cargo that's not a factory accessory. So if you've got gear in there, suitcase, whatever's in there, toolkits, anything you've added to the vehicle adds to that cab weight or the curb weight. Also, whatever is in the bed. So if you're going to the lake for the day and you got a big cooler back there and some camping gear, that is all weight that's added towards the payload. And the one that a lot of people forget about is tongue weight. So if you're towing a trailer, general rule of thumb is about 10% is going to be, and that's going to vary a little bit depending on exactly what you're towing, but whatever your tongue weight, the weight that's applied right here counts as part of that payload. So if you have a 5,000 pound trailer, 10% of that would be 500. So you'd add 500 to the payload, not the towing number, it's the weight that's right here. Now this can vary depending on what type of trailer you're pulling and what type of stuff is on it. Now, for instance, if you had a big block muscle car and yet engine was up front, that's going to add to that tongue weight. On the flip side, if you're towing like a Honda Talon and the engine's in the back of that machine, it's going to lessen that tongue weight. Now, when you start doing the math for tongue weight, you never want to load the back of the trailer heavy to take away from that tongue weight. A little tongue weight is good at 10% when towing. If you get the tongue weight at 0, or you have more weight back here and it's actually lifting up on that tongue, that's a bad scenario, because the trailer can actually try to pick up the back of that truck. Seen people with side-by-sides and stuff, they load a trailer, get going down the road, and it gets to be very sketchy very quick. You want a little bit of a tongue weight as a general rule there. So that's payload. Again, people, gear, and anything in the bed along with that tongue weight. You have 2 weights for the trailer itself. One is what the trailer weighs, and 2, what is on that trailer as far as total weight. So if this trailer was 2,000 pounds and the cargo that we had up here was 3,000, that would be a total of 5,000 pounds towing. So now the payload, again, we went over that. Now this calculator is going to automatically factor in the 10% for the tongue weight, and you're going to see that pop up in payload. Now GCWR, gross combination weight rating, that is the total weight of your curb weight plus your payload plus your towing, cannot exceed that, in this case, 11,105. Now this is where some of the numbers kind of get to be a little misleading, if I'm being honest, and a lot of truck scenarios are just like this. So the rating is 6,400 pounds, and I'm sure Toyota's done real world testing with a light tongue weight or something like that, but it's not a realistic you're going to get there, and I'll show you why. So say you're towing a 6,000 pound trailer. Well, it says we're in the green, but that's actually not the case. So if you take 4,500 plus 6,000 plus 600 pounds of tongue weight, you're at a total weight of 11,105 pounds. 11,100 pounds. Our max is 11,105 pounds. So the only way this scenario works is if the driver weighs 5 pounds or less. So I'm going to say the driver weighs 10 pounds, and it's automatically going to throw that 600 back in there. So we got 10 pounds. Bam. We are over max towing capability. So we're going to adjust values. 0. I'm trying to video and keyboard at the same time here. All right, so it said the max towing was 6,400 pounds. Let's just put that in. Again, we're back to adjusting values here. So at 6,400 pounds, you have a 4,500 pound truck plus 640 pounds of tongue weight plus a 6,400 pound trailer. That is 11,540 pounds. So we have, again, surpassed that without people being in here. Now, this is where you can keep playing around and do whatever numbers you want to. And you're going to have all the models, so the numbers you need to know, and I'm going to put it back to 0 again. But you're going to look at these individual numbers. So you're going to take your curb weight, add in any payload, add in 10% tongue weight approximately for the trailer to that payload number, then add whatever your max towing. And if you go past it in payload, past it in towing, or past it in GCWR, you've technically passed the rated capability for any of those 3. Now, if you go to the boat ramp or campground, honestly, a lot of trucks, and most often it's the payload, but a lot of times you'll see a truck loaded up, and typically they'll pass something. Payload, a lot of times, is the quick one. People run out of that number. But again, curb weight, payload, towing, that equals your GCWR. If you pass this, if you pass the towing number itself, or if you pass payload, you're technically past spec. And the tongue weight, right here with this hitch is rated for, click through all the models. It's either 640 pounds or 650 pounds. And that's not only an important number for that tongue weight as far as putting it here, but also like if you were going to put like some rear hitch carrier for a bicycle or dirt bike or something there. So the rating is almost identical across the board for that. all Tacomas have a Class 4 hitch. So the hitch itself is, with it being a Class 4, should be rated around 1,000 some pounds approximately. So they definitely put a good heavy-duty hitch on all these Tacomas. Now, if you remember, I had made a comment about the Raptor versus Tacoma as far as the towing application, and how sometimes when you look at a max number, it doesn't really work out in a real-world scenario. So we're going to put this in a real-world scenario, Raptor versus Tacoma. We've got that 8,200 pounds max towing, and then, you know, Tacoma's got 6,500, so it sounds like the Raptor's clearly the winner here. Max payload of 1445. We're going to compare it to a TRD Off Road. Again, there goes your model number, and I'm going to show a breakdown on every single model here so you can do real world comparison. Now, this one has a payload of 1,705 and a max towing of 6,000. Sounds like Raptor's window, but let's do a real world analysis here. So again, 82 versus 6,000. Now, real world scenario, let's say we're going to a lake with a few buddies, towing a boat, and we're trying to figure out, hey, how big a boat can I tow with each one of these in a practical application? Now, if you had 4 adults, including yourself, and the average weight's 200 pounds, that's 800 pounds of people. And then say 200 pounds of gear between the cooler and some stuff we're bringing along, which when I go to the lake, that's on the light side compared to what I actually bring for camping or boating. Now, payload, we have 1,000 pounds between 4 adults and some gear here. Again, remember our max payload numbers. So we're going to subtract 1,000 away from that. And this is our leftover payload, 445 versus 705. Now, if you remember the 10% rule, we're going to do reverse math here. So again, 10% of tongue weight is ideal or typical. So we're going to times that by 10. The max trailer that you could handle with that leftover payload for the Ford is going to be 4,450, max of 7,050 on the Tacoma. Now, if you remember, the max towing number was 6,000, so that's the number we can't go over, not the 7,000. Now, this would be nice for 2 different ways, having that extra payload. One, if the trailer was a little tongue heavy, you've got a little bit of a buffer there compared to that 10%. Also, if you did want to bring a little bit more gear, or somebody brings an extra cooler last minute, you have an extra 100 pounds, and you can still max tow with the Tacoma versus what you could do with that. And again, this is real world. Doesn't matter if it's the payload, the towing, or the GCWR. Whenever you hit your limit on one of those 3, that's when you have to stop. All right, this is where we're going to go through every one of the model configurations for Tacoma. And if you're looking for a model code, it's going to be right there on each one of them. And we're going to go through each of the configuration, what they consist of. We're also going to show curb weight, max payload, max towing, and max GCWR. And remember, you can max, whenever you max either one of those 3 out, you're at the max capability for the truck, even if you have room in other sections there. And if you're curious how to do the math for that, or to figure out how the practical application is, jump back in the video. I will go over all of those as well. And this section, it's going to be all our rear-wheel drive vehicles. The next section is going to be all full-wheel drive vehicles. It's going to be tabbed off. And I'm going to start at the lowest MSRP, and this is base MSRP. When you see these trucks on lots, they're going to have more equipment and stuff on an average there. But they're going to start at the base MSRP and go up from there. So this is a 7162 base MSRP of 31,500. 24 Tacoma SR rear-wheel drive, and 25 is very similar across the board here. Xtra Cab, 6-foot bed, automatic. It's got 228 horsepower, 243 pound-feet of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,145 pounds, max payload of 1,460 pounds, max towing of 3,500 pounds, and a max GCWR of 8,105 pounds for that model. And on all of these, if you see that little picture right there, that is not necessarily what the configuration looks like. Some of these are correct, and some of them is generic photos that don't match it. Always go by the description there. Next up, we have a 7186. That has a MSRP of 33,700. It's a double SR rear-wheel drive. Tacoma. It's got a double cab, 5-foot bed, automatic, 228 horsepower, 243 pound-feet of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,280 pounds, max payload of 1,495 pounds, max towing of 3,500 pounds, and a max GCWR of 8,210 pounds. Next up is a 7126 MSRP of 36,200, and this is an SR5. As soon as you get to that model, you increase your horsepower. It is an Xtra Cab, 6-foot bed. It is an auto. It's got 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pound of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,145 pounds, max payload of 1,460 pounds, max towing of 6,500 pounds, and max GCWR of 11,335 pounds. Next up is a 7146 base MSRP of 37,200. It's a double SR5 rear-wheel drive. It's got a double cab, a 5-foot bed. It is an automatic. It makes 278 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,265 pounds, max payload of 1,510 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, and max GCWR of 11,105 pounds. Next up is a 7170 base MSRP of 37,700. It's a double SR5 rear-wheel drive. It's got a double cab, a 6-foot bed. It's an automatic. It makes 278 horsepower and 317 foot-pound of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,365 pounds, a payload of 1,605 pounds, towing of 6,400 pounds, and max GCWR of 11,200. Next up, and coming back for the new generation, is the TRD PreRunner rear-wheel drive. It is an Xtra Cab with a 6-foot bed, automatic, makes 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,200 pounds, max payload of 1,405 pounds, max towing of 6,500 pounds, max GCWR of 11,155 pounds. Next up is a 7148 base MSRP of 39,400. That is a double TRD Sport. That includes a double cab, a 5-foot bed. It is an automatic. It makes 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. Got a curb weight of 4,330 pounds, max payload of 1,445 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, and a max GCWR of 11,165. Next up, and the most expensive two-wheel drive truck, is a 7172 base MSRP of 39,900. It's at double TRD Sport rear-wheel drive. It consists of a double cab, 6-foot bed. It's an automatic, makes 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,345 pounds, max payload of 1,680 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, and max GCWR of 11,470 pounds. And that is going to sum up the two-wheel drive trucks. Alright, so we're going to go through the four-wheel drive models now. There's two things when I was doing the research and going over the tow numbers and everything that didn't necessarily make sense to me, but if anybody in here is a Toyota engineer or just happens to know, definitely drop it in the comments. One, 243 foot-pounds isn't that low of torque. I feel like the max towing for that 3,500, I just don't feel like it's a power difference. Maybe it is. Maybe they did some acceleration test or something like that. But also I've noticed with the SR that's rated like this, it does not have a tow haul mode. So I'm curious if there isn't a secondary reason why the tow rating is so little. Like, does it not have enough cooling capability? Is something a little different in the transmission? Or is it just a power thing or a cost thing of some type? But I feel like with that much torque, as many gears as these new trucks have, it should be able to do more than that, but for some reason it's definitely got quite a bit difference in tow rating. And the other one, when I was looking at the horsepower, and at first I thought it was maybe a misprint, the Trailhunter has a few less horsepower than the Pro or the other hybrid max powertrains. The only thing I could think out of that maybe jumps out to me is maybe the snorkel with that air intake maybe loses a few HP, but it was like that on both Toyota's website and the Toyota's Engage's website, so I'm assuming that spec's correct. All right, so let's go through the models. This first one is a 7514, MSRP of $34,700. It's a Tacoma SR four-wheel drive. It's an Xtra Cab. It's got a 6-foot bed. It's an auto with 228 horsepower, 243 foot-pounds torque, curb weight of 4,375 pounds, max payload of 1,230 pounds, which also seems pretty low compared to most of them, max towing of 3,500 pounds, and max GCWR of 8,210 pounds. Next up is a 7594 MSRP of $36,900. It's an SR double four-wheel drive Tacoma. It is a double cab 5-foot bed, automatic, 228 horsepower, 243 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,505 pounds, max payload of 1,500 pounds, max towing of 3,500 pounds, max GCWR of 8,210 pounds. Next up is a 7547 that has a MSRP of $36,900. It's a double SR four-wheel drive. It's a double cab 5-foot bed manual transmission. This is the cheapest way that you can get a manual transmission Tacoma. 270 horsepower, 310 foot-pound of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,485. It has got a max payload of 1,380 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, and max GCWR of 8,335 pounds. Next up is a 7558 with an MSRP of $39,400. It is an SR5 four-wheel drive Tacoma. It's an Xtra Cab with a 6-foot bed. It is automatic. If you notice, the automatics have a few more horsepower and a few more pound-feet of torque here at 278 horsepower versus that 270 and 317 foot-pound-feet of torque versus the 310 of the manual. It has a curb weight of 4,375 pounds, payload of 1,203 pounds, max towing of 6,500 pounds, and GCWR of 11,115 pounds. Next up is a 7540, has an MSRP of $40,400. It's a double SR5 four-wheel drive Tacoma. It's a double cab 5-foot bed, automatic, 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,500 pounds, payload of 1,505 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, and max GCWR of 11,105 pounds. Next up is a 7570. It's got an MSRP of $40,900. It's a double SR5 four-wheel drive Tacoma, and it includes a double cab with a 6-foot bed, automatic. It's got 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,600 pounds, max payload of 1,405, max towing of 6,400 pounds, and a max GCWR of 11,200. Next up is a 7545, base MSRP of $41,800. It is a double TRD Off Road four-wheel drive Tacoma, and it has a double cab, 5-foot bed, and it's a manual transmission with 270 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, curb weight of 4,650, max payload of 1,525 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, max GCWR of 11,515 pounds. Next up is a 7543, MSRP of $41,800. It's a double TRD Sport, four-wheel drive Tacoma. It's got a double cab, a 5-foot bed, Also a manual transmission, 270 horsepower, 310 foot-pound of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,605, max payload of 1,570 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, and a max GCWR of 11,165 pounds. Next up is a 7542. MSRP of $42,600. It's a double TRD Sport, four-wheel drive Tacoma. It's got a double cab, a 5-foot bed, auto with 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pound of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,575 pounds, payload of 1,430 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, max GCWR of 11,165 pounds. Next up is a 7544, MSRP of $42,900. It's a double TRD Off Road, four-wheel drive Tacoma, and it has a double cab, 5-foot bed, automatic, with 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pound of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,630 pounds, payload of 1,610 max, and a max towing of 6,400 pounds with a max GCWR of 11,515 pounds. Next up is a 7566, base MSRP of $43,100. It's a double TRD Sport, four-wheel drive Tacoma. It is got a double cab, 6-foot bed, automatic, 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a 4,600 pound curb weight, max payload of 1,700 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, max GCWR of 11,470 pounds. Next up, 7568, MSRP of $43,400, double TRD Off Road, four-wheel drive Tacoma with a double cab, 6-foot bed, auto, 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,650 pounds, max payload of 1,655 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, max GCWR of 11,550 pounds. Next up is a 7530, MSRP of $46,300. It's a double TRD Sport, four-wheel drive Tacoma, and it's got a double cab, 5-foot bed, automatic, and this is where the iForce Max comes in and bumps that horsepower up to 326 horsepower, 465 foot-pounds. That's some pretty serious numbers for a midsize truck. Curb weight of 5,030 pounds, max payload of 1,620 pounds, max towing of 6,000 pounds, max GCWR of 11,545 pounds. Next up, 7532, MSRP of $46,600. That is a double TRD Off Road, four-wheel drive Tacoma. And it's got a double cab, 5-foot bed, automatic, 326 horsepower, 465 foot-pounds of torque with that iForce Max again. And that is a hybrid, in case you didn't know there, and that's where that extra torque comes from, is that hybrid system, just instant electric power. Curb weight of 5,045 pounds. Max payload of 1,705 pounds, max towing of 6,000 pounds, and max GCWR of 11,655 pounds. Next up, 7582, MSRP of $52,100. It's a double limited four-wheel drive Tacoma. It's got a double cab, 5-foot bed, 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a curb weight of 4,715 pounds, max payload of 1,590 pounds, max towing of 6,400 pounds, max GCWR of 11,455 pounds. Next up, 7534, MSRP of $55,800. It's that double limited Tacoma, four-wheel drive. It's got a double cab, 5-foot bed, automatic. And with the iForce Max, it's got 326 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque. It's got a curb weight of 5,170 pounds, payload of 1,610 pounds. That's max. And max towing of 6,000 pounds. Max GCWR of 11,675 pounds. Next up is the $7536, base MSRP of $62,900. It's a double Trail Hunter 4-wheel drive Tacoma. It is a double cab, 5-foot bed, automatic, and this one has 323 horsepower versus 326 horsepower according to Toyota and Engage's website, so anybody knows why, sound off. 465 foot-pounds of torque with that I-Force Max. Curb weight of 5,360 pounds, max payload of 1,475 pounds, max towing of 6,000 pounds, max GCWR of 11,825 pounds. Next up is a 7538 MSRP, $63,400. It's a double Trail Hunter 4-wheel drive Tacoma, and it's got a double cab with a 6-foot bed, automatic, 323 horsepower, 465 foot-pounds of torque with that I-Force Max again. It's got a curb weight of 5,410 pounds, max payload of 1,425 pounds, max towing of 5,950 pounds, max GCWR of 11,835 pounds. Last but definitely not least, 7598. MSRP of $63,900. It's a double TRD Pro 4-wheel drive Tacoma. It comes with a double cab 5-foot bed, automatic, that 326 horsepower and 465 foot-pound of torque with the I-Force Max hybrid. It's got a curb weight of 5,100 pounds, max payload of 1,680, max towing of 6,000 pounds, and max GCWR of 11,800. So that wraps up all the model codes. Again, if you're getting near the end of the video and you was looking for 2-wheel drive, everything is segmented off for the different sections to help you jump around and find the model quicker, and it starts from the lowest MSRP to the highest. If you found this video helpful, please give a like, share, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to the channel. And also sound off if you'd like to see a similar breakdown for Tundra when it comes to towing, payload, and model configuration. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the channel. I have over a decade of experience in the Toyota world, and when questions get technical, I'm typically the go-to person. If I don't know the answer, I'll do my best to figure it out. Automotive industry changes quickly. This channel is for inspiring salespeople, people debating buying, and enthusiasts all alike. This will include walkarounds, how-tos, configurations, specs, along with some common asked questions. So if you have any, drop them in the comments, and it could be the next video. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and until the next one, keep the wheels moving and hope you have a good one.